the stuff that should be in. Okay, and you'll notice that right away, just like Illustrator, when you draw 2 points and it's filled with something, it's going to try to draw these. So what I'm going to do is actually, just for the sake of keeping this nice and easy to cut out, I'm going to reduce the fill to 0, and you'll see that gets rid of that white fill. So I'm going to keep on going, and I'm going to quickly cut this out. I can hear the fans of my laptop humming away in the background. It'd be really cool if I was like a cooking show and I kind of had, like, you know, oh, I just brought this Photoshop file already made here today, so but that's not the case. I am not that prepared. Just gonna drag this over. And these, by the way, if you're not a guitar aficionado, these little guys here, they're called machine heads. I'm going to ignore these machine heads because I don't want to do that right now. Of course, again, if this was a client and if Washburn was my client, I would be paying immaculate detail to every little bit of this guitar and making a very fine and precise clipping path. And I'm actually going to ignore that whole nub there for the that's where the and we're going to keep on going. And again, usually when I'm clipping, you'll notice that I try to clip, again, this is very rough, but I try to actually have my path a little on the inside of the image. The reason why I don't have the path right out here is because when I go to cut this out and isolate it, it's going to take a little chunk of the background with it, and then that gives you that nice halo that you see on printed material and even on websites occasionally. Sign of amateur stuff. So always cut a little bit to the inside of your piece you're isolating, and that will ensure you get a nice clean cut and you're not taking along any background information with you. Again, I'm just going to go in here and actually, let's put a control point here. Notice as I'm going through here, I can modify these control points pretty much however I wish, and I'm going to bring this down a bit just for the sake of cutting it out. Okay, so now I have my wonderful guitar. I'm going to hit the Apple key, and you'll notice when I hit the Apple key, I get that nice selection kind of marquee over the vector mask thumbnail. So if I click on that, pow, you'll notice that you get the selection. So you turn the actual layer, adjustment layer, or layer thumbnail, vector layer, into a selection, which is pretty cool. So you'll notice that I turn the vector layer, or the shape layer, into a selection, which is bonus. It's a real nice way to go. And also, if I was to, for example, fill this with 100%, now I can actually go in Illustrator, if I choose, and copy and paste this, and I get basically a vector cutout of electric guitar, which I can use for other layouts, other things. It's always useful to try to find, you know, you're investing the time to cut out an image. Why not use, you know, the path for something else, for another design later on? A sign of a good designer is also not reusing your ideas, but being very efficient with the materials you create. If you can find another use for a piece, that's not exactly the same, go for it. There's no rule that says you're not allowed to do that. So I'm going to bring that back to white, and I'm just going to bring this fill down to 0. So what I'm going to do now, actually, now that that's done, I am going to create a stage. This is my ad that I'm going to actually make now. So I'm going to make a new file, and I'm going to call this my ad. Okay. And what I want to do is actually I'm going to make this 8.5 by 11, okay, at 300 dpi. There's presets here too if you're doing for a web ad or film and video, etc. But we are doing US paper, letter, whatever, right? So you can do tabloid or whatever. Just keep in mind that of course things are bigger and they take up more space. So anyway, this particular ad is going to be 8.5 by 11 at 300. 300 is the minimum resolution you are to make a print ad. Anything lower than that is the quality, the sharpness of the actual print ad of the picture itself will start to degrade, and you will get a soft, fuzzy image instead of a nice, clean, crisp one. And we're going to leave it in RGB for right now. It will be turned into CMYK in the very end, but you'll notice when it's RGB, this is 24 megs. If I switch to CMYK, it jumps up to 32. So work in RGB until everything is final, and then flatten the image, which I'll show you later on, and turn it to CMYK. So right now it's RGB. The background color, I like to make it transparent. It's totally up to you. I'm going to go OK. So this is our beautiful ad. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some rules on here. I'm going to throw in some rules. One there, and I'm going to throw a rule on that side. Basically just give me some depth and definition. Why am I doing this? Because this is the actual size that is being cut out, that's being trimmed out. So when you open up a magazine it's 8.5 by 11. The thing is that when the magazine is published, is actually printed, and if there's color going to the very edge, there's actually the designer actually makes the canvas size bigger. There's more color that extends out. Usually it's maybe a 1/4 inch extra. So what I'm going to do is go to canvas size, and I'm going to make this 9 by, let's see, 11. Haha. Well, that is interesting. I'm going to have to disable this for 1 second. Let's try that. No, it's not going to work. Let's quit that for 1 second. That's my hotkey. 11.5. Okay, I'm going to go OK. Now you see what happens is that now I have a bit extra canvas size, so if there's any problems with printing, any misregistration, they have some room to play. Very important. And if you don't do this, you'll get a nice ad with a little white hairline border around it, or on one side or the other, that you may have seen in the backs of magazines, poorly produced advertising. Just a tip, and a very, very tip to note, because it will cost you tons of money if you miss this tip. Anyway, I'm rambling. So I'm actually going to bring on my Omni Dazzle again. That's my little highlight tool. Okay, so we got this back up. I'm going to kill that. So this is my ad. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to this little guy there. We all know what that is. It's the rectangle tool, which is linked up with all of the nice shape layer stuff up here. So I'm going to go to the rectangle tool. It's all the same. And I'm going to draw a box. Notice I'm drawing the box bigger than the canvas, bigger than everything. Why? Because that way I know everything is going to be covered. And I'm going to make this black. Okay, let's go all the way down here. It's called rich black because it contains almost over 80% of the cyan, the magenta, the yellow, and the black, which is CMYK, which is used for printing. Very important, gives you a nice rich color. And you'll notice it's not showing up. Why? Because, whoa, the fill is set to 0. Usually when things aren't working, it's just the simpler things that aren't clicked on. So now I've got my background. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my guitar, and I'm going to make that selection. Okay, and I'm going to go to the guitar layer itself, and I'm going to Apple J. So now you see I have it isolated. It's cut out, it's duplicated. Now I'm just going to drag this guitar right over, and you're going to notice right off the bat that it says, well, the target has a different depth than the source document. That basically means that we're working in 16 bits here. The actual target document, the ad itself, is in 8 bits. Not a big deal. Go right ahead. I like to make all my color adjustments as much as I can in a 16-bit format because it gives me more information. So this looks pretty good. I mean, you can kind of looking at it, it's nice, and you'll notice that the blacks really